Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, what I wanted to go over was some of the tools that I use and some of my workflows in building some of these environments and assets that you see. So, what better way to show that off than to just kind of create a simple asset, something like a sci-fi safety railing. Just real simple, nothing to reference off of or anything like that, just kind of just off of your imagination. But the main key takeaway of this was to show you those functions that I use to speed up this process. So we started off by creating the simple cylinder, a ground plane. I like to keep things kind of precise as far as measurements goes, as far as scale goes. That way it fits into your environments and your games properly. A lot of times you can actually find exact measurements and dimensions of objects that you're creating online. Say safety rails, they'll give you like a standard height or anything like that. But really in this one, we're just kind of winging it just to show you. Now, as you've seen, the ground plane kind of helped me have an origin to mirror off of. And as you can already see, we're speeding up our workflow. Now, next, we're going to use the spin tool. The spin tool can be used to simply take that existing face and rotate it on whatever direction and whatever amount of angle that you would like. The way that I do this is by selecting one of the vertices, edges, or faces, then duplicating it, separating it on its own, and moving it a certain incremented amount. That way you can keep everything proper, as always. Now, all you're gonna have to do is select that vertex and move the 3D cursor on top of it, making it the snapping point. Now, when you simply click the spin tool, you'll see all the options that you have. You can rotate it on the X, Y, or Z axis. We want the X axis. Then you will have the pop-up window where you can properly put in the angle and the amount of segments that you want. Then we continue to model, and as before, we can do the same exact operation, duplicating the vertex, moving it a certain amount, a certain direction, and putting the world origin on top, making it the snapping point. Now, once the actual railing is done, we're going to move on to the next point, which is going to be the base. And as before, I'm going to make our life so much simpler by simply creating that ground plane that we had originally made and duplicating it using the mirror option. Now you can simply use your imagination just to create that base using any kind of references or just experimenting with these tools. As you're going along your modeling workflow, a lot of times what you'll run into is maybe quads and triangles. I typically like to avoid them because I do take this into a subdivided state. So we can just something like this, we can simply take those two vertices and connect them using the J key. And like before, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing it, everything I try to keep precise. If you want the bolts to be in a certain area, it's just so much better to just create those edges and vertices and just create a whole new face, duplicate it, and then separate it on its own. That way you have something to work off of, and it will be exactly in the spot that you want it to be. That makes sense, and you won't have to sit there and just keep moving it around just to get it positioned correctly. Next, of course, we go into the high poly. So as you've seen before, I'll have the high poly and then I'll have the low poly. Um, One thing that you can do to kind of speed up your loop edges that you're just supporting loops that you're putting in is by just creating one and then duplicating using the bevel option. And then the same things can be done on all the parts, including the inset as well. You can also inset uh, an entire segmented area. That way you don't have to keep putting in more edge loops and trying to keep them kind of precise by eyeballing it.